ahora sí vienen los otros que le van a pegar a los bancos, ¿sí? Que es el ecosistema más descentralizado. Hay centralizados y descentralizados. DeFi, ¿sí? Decentralized Finance, y Cefi, Centralized Finance. Bueno, vamos a escuchar algunos de estos proyectos que vienen de alguna forma a patear el escenario de la banca, o al menos de la prestación de servicios financieros en forma directa al usuario. Así que bueno, a ver si estamos listos. John, are you ready? Are you ready?
Ready.
Yeah.
All right.
John from Bitcoin Magazine.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rodolfo. All right. Everyone else go ahead and come on out on stage. Hello, everyone. Fun topic here. Kind of a hot topic in the world, really. And yesterday I was listening to a government official, El Salvadorian government official, talk about, we have Bitcoin, DeFi's coming, and I'm like, wow, we have government officials talking about DeFi. So panel is DeFi and Cefi, with kind of a special focus on borrowing and lending. First, to just kind of kick things off, we'll go down the row and let everyone introduce themselves. Let's start with you, Martin.
I am Martin Volpe. I've been working for the last almost 3 years on Celo. Celo's mission is to create a platform to enable the tools for prosperity for all. In practice, that translates to a proof-of-stake network that has 5-second transaction times. It's completely decentralized, and we are creating an ecosystem of stablecoins so that anyone with a mobile phone is able to exchange value with anyone in the world just with their mobile phone and their phone number. And we are very interested about how Bitcoin fits into all that. It's a great collateral for these stablecoins, and we could talk about that later.
Thanks, Martin.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mauricio. I'm the co-founder and chief strategy officer of Ledin. Ledin is, I believe, the only Cefi company on the panel. What Cefi really means is we're a registered entity. We're based in Canada, and we have, as a company, we have employees, and we have client success and legal agreements. And so our job really is to make saving and borrowing very simple and very transparent, as best as we can as a centralized entity, and provide people with the answers to the questions they need or the education they need to understand how these products work. And all of our products are fully available in Spanish and Portuguese. We think it's very important for people to be able to understand the rules of the agreements that they're getting into, especially if it's the first time. And that's it. I'm sure we'll get into some more after.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Max Carjusa. I am co-founder of Money on Chain. Money on Chain is the first stablecoin built for Bitcoiners by Bitcoiners. Basically, Money on Chain is a stack of protocols to have DeFi on top of Bitcoin. But our most popular tokens are the Dollar on Chain, a stablecoin pegged to the US dollar, and the BitPro, that is a token that allows you to earn income on your Bitcoins.
Mauricio, number 2.
Yeah, I'm the second Mauricio in the panel. Hi, my name is Mauricio Tovar. I'm the co-founder of Tropicus.finance. It's a lending and borrowing protocol to offer fair savings and access to credits designed for developing countries, starting in Latin America. We are trying to solve several problems that we have in the region, that we live as founders, that we live as a team, but that we know we're facing in the region. And we are doing that in a decentralized manner. We are decentralized finance on top of the most important and the strongest currency at the moment and for the future, that is Bitcoin. And we can lend not only in Bitcoin, but also in stablecoin like Money on Chain. We are on top of RSK, a second layer on top of Bitcoin.
Hi, my name is Oswaldo Lorette. For the last 5 years, I've been trying to develop a Bitcoin sidechain. I was finally able to this year, but I'm so glad there's so many people trying to do the same thing, because that shows you what honesty looks like. I mean, you cannot develop anything on top of Ethereum or anything else. You have to develop it on top of Bitcoin. Why? Because Bitcoin is like the gold standard. You could only issue notes back 200 years ago if you had gold or silver in the vault. And what these guys are doing is exactly that. They're issuing their smart contracts based on actual Bitcoin. That's all I care about.
All right, the gold standard to the Bitcoin standard. Good way to kick it off. And Bitcoin is the reason we're all here. Would start off also by just saying, Bitcoin is DeFi. When you hold your own keys, when you can send your money anywhere in the world, that's DeFi. And we also want to be able to kind of access other services, things like lending, returns on that Bitcoin. So let's kind of get into that. Let's start with Celo. How does Bitcoin tie into Celo? How do you kind of view that?
Yeah, although it's very public, it's a little known fact that these stable tokens are actually partially backed by Bitcoin. So every time you mint one of the stable tokens we have, it could be Celo Dollar, Celo Euro, or coming up next, C Real for the Brazilian Real, you are depositing some Celo in some reserve, and that reserve has the decentralized mandate to rebalance that to Bitcoin. And in practice, that means that for each dollar that you deposit in the reserve is actually market buying that equivalent in Bitcoin. So I believe it's an interest of the whole Bitcoin community to have assets like this that are backed by the sound money that Bitcoin is. And building on that, once you have that incentives aligned and everything's living on chain, you just have the whole suite of EVM things that you can do. You can lending, you can borrow, you can yield farm. We recently started an initiative called DeFi for the People. There's, I think, $100 million in incentives for all sorts of farmings.
That's a lot of money.
Including, yeah. And also the biggest projects have committed also to launch of Celo. All the cool kids that are there are launching on Celo relatively soon. And that just brings to everyone's phone, quite literally, the opportunity to enter this very new, very exciting revolution for finance without having to pay crazy gas prices.
All right. Actually, let's skip to Max. And Max, can you kind of touch on this kind of similar question? How does Bitcoin tie in, and how is kind of what you're doing a little bit different than Celo, and kind of how your stablecoin operates?
Okay, well, basically, the dollar on chain is 100% backed by Bitcoin, but I should say like 1,000% backed by Bitcoin, because we have a lot more Bitcoins in the protocol that dollar on chain exists. So basically, we have two different people working with the protocol. Ones are, for example, Argentinian people that holds the dollar on chain because they cannot buy US dollars in the market. And in the other side, we have Bitcoiners that are willing to earn a yield in their Bitcoin. So these Bitcoiners mint the BitPro, and the BitPro is the one who takes away the volatility for the dollar on chain. So the idea of the protocol is that the inflation in the US dollar is greater than the inflation on Bitcoin. So the money left in the table by the people holding the dollar on chain is yield to the people holding the BitPro.
Thanks. Let's pop over to Cefi now. Mauricio, talk about kind of the opportunity to earn yield on Bitcoin, and kind of why a centralized way could be, is an option for some people. It might be the better option for some people.
Yeah, happy to. So at Ledin, essentially, you can bring your Bitcoin and you can earn interest on it. That account is called our savings account, and it's very similar to the savings accounts that many people are used to today. You can log in, register an account, you get an address, you send your Bitcoin, and you start earning interest right away. So there are many ways to generate the interest on that Bitcoin. Ledin does not have a token, so we can't just print a token and pay people interest. So in order to generate the interest, we lend it to institutions that have a use case for it, either making markets or others, and then they can pay us an interest rate. We then take a little spread, and then we pay the majority out to the clients. It works very similar to a traditional bank account that you may be familiar with, and in other platforms, there are other ways to earn interest on your Bitcoin. You can stake it on some platforms, and you can earn these tokens, which you then have to go sell and then come back into Bitcoin or dollars. We try to essentially simplify all that activity to our clients, where we just show them an address, and they know what interest rate they're going to get for the month, and they collect the interest at the end of the month. Similarly, you can also use the Bitcoin that you have at the Ledin platform to post as collateral and get a loan. And we can disperse you dollars, and the Bitcoin becomes the collateral for the loan. So those are the key services that we offer today, and that's really the crux.
Good stuff. Also, Mauricio, we heard about this initiative for the people. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the people that you're kind of looking to help with Tropicos, and kind of how you see kind of the audience for the product?
Yeah, for sure. The Tropicus has a very interesting story about how it borns. Is that we started to work in developing smart contracts for the public sector, and later on, with my partners, we started a consultancy company, and we started to solve a lot of problems in that path. Not only from us, but for the legal, for the financial system, the traditional financial system. And we started to understand the problems of Latin America in that sense. For example, our CTO is asking for a loan for the past 3 years. He don't want few money, he want a lot money if you compare it with the average in Colombia, and the financial system reject him systematically. And we're starting to understand developing DeFi products for third parties or clients, the benefits of decentralized finance, because it's open, you can maintain your privacy, and it's very efficient. So all of those things that the banks do with people, papers, offices, only a smart contract on top of Bitcoin can do it. But we start to understand also that a lot of the volume in DeFi is made by large institutions. So though all of those benefits are not being, the people that need it the most don't take advantage of those benefits of DeFi. So we decide to start Tropicus, because all of this is a long story, and I don't want to bother you with that. But that's why we have in Tropicus a savings account on RBTC or Bitcoin, and we yield 4% APY with a limit of around $1,800. And also we have microloans with 4.5 APY with a limit of $1,000 in a token that is RDoc, that it's pegged to the dollar, thinking to offer fair financial services on savings and on loans for Latin Americans.
Good stuff. Oswaldo.
Okay, so my main interest coming down here is El Salvador. I mean, I cannot believe this is happening. The last time this happened was 1722. Isaac Newton developed the gold standard. And the country who took it up became the largest, commercial kingdom in the world. A little island that was only like 5.5 million people. These guys are 6.
Sounds familiar.
6.5 million people here, right? These guys were an island of awful weather, okay? They still are. And they were only 5.5. And just because they took up the gold standard, they became the largest empire the world had ever seen. So El Salvador here is taking up a road. I mean, that minister right there, I've never seen a minister of finance like that. So I'm here to help that out.
Good stuff. And very interesting, Tropicos, kind of how you're tailoring a product to a certain group of people. On the Cefi side, and kind of tailoring a product to different geographies maybe, how do you kind of think about that for the Canadian customer base and the El Salvadorian customer base?
It's a great question. And So savings and loans are pretty universal. Everyone largely around the world, has a desire or a need to take out a loan or has some extra money that they want to earn some interest on. The savings side, I think, is less of a distinction because there isn't really, it's a very simple service. There's just an interest rate, and it doesn't really matter where the money's coming from, provided that as a centralized entity, we have to pass KYC and everything. But assuming all that is good, it's not really different for us where the money is coming from as far as where our clients are looking to save. So the savings product is pretty universal as far as how it operates. Everybody gets the same treatment. Everybody gets the same rate. It's basically our way of being as fair as Bitcoin. And on the loan side, it's a little bit different because, as many would imagine, people or clients on average in investor markets tend to have sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin or millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and they're taking a loan to buy a house. It's very different. We thought long and hard when we first brought the product to Latin America because many times we are introducing this product to many people. Most people didn't know that you could borrow dollars and use your Bitcoin as collateral. It's actually brand new to most people. And so what we wanted to do when we built it was make it really simple so that people could understand how the product works and try it. And so many companies out there, when you want to borrow from them, you'll have to borrow at least $10,000, at least $20,000. That requires a lot of collateral. And in LATAM, in countries like Venezuela, El Salvador, Colombia, that is a very high friction point for somebody to try something they've never seen before. So we worked really long and hard to start our loans at $500, which some people consider to be micro-lending. But at Ledin right now, anyone can show up with $1,000 worth of Bitcoin and borrow $500 worth of dollars and get you in your bank account in 24 hours. And that's true to El Salvador, Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico. We're essentially all over LATAM, and everybody gets the same treatment.
Everyone gets the same treatment, just like everyone using Bitcoin. Max, so we kind of got the CeFi perspective on how they're thinking about kind of that different level of customer in terms of amount they need to borrow or amount they want to lend. How do you think about that kind of operating more decentralized version of this?
Well, lately we have been told that we can borrow against our Bitcoins and we have never to pay back. And we as Bitcoiners must to be very careful with that because it's very tempting to put my Bitcoin as collateral and take a loan and buy a house or buy a car. But things can get very ugly if we do that. You have to think about what is going to happen with the market crash. So if you take a 50% loan in your Bitcoins, for example, you have $1,000 in Bitcoins and you take a loan of $500, and if the price of Bitcoins goes down by 40% or 50%, you are going to get liquidated, and you are going to lose your Bitcoins. So we have a complete different approach. Our approach is put your money in something like the BitPro and earn money with your Bitcoins, and then spend that money that you have earned with your Bitcoins, and do not put your Bitcoins at risk.
All right. Always good to have some words of caution in these bull market times too. Martin, let's come back to you. We're talking backstage a little bit, kind of where everyone's from and kind of the perspective that they come to this panel with. Kind of the history of Argentina. I think most people here are probably aware of kind of the inflationary cycles that have been experienced there. Talk a little bit about that here, and kind of how you think that places like that benefit from Bitcoin, and why something like these borrowing and lending options are important in those markets.
Coming out from those places, I think internationally there's a little bit of misconception about what happens in a big inflationary cycle. In the international community, it's like, okay, this is happening and people need just go money and they're just going into Bitcoin. And what happens actually is that people want to take the risk out of the table and they just want to keep their money somewhat stable. And there is where stablecoins are very useful in that particular situation, because what people want is less risk and making sure they're going to be able to afford the things to afford. In US dollars, it's a good hedge for that, at least for the moment. And then if you actually in a financial position where you can use Bitcoin, it's great that you can actually have an impact and can you do something with it, because otherwise we are working in this problem. It's basically liquidity, right? If you just have your Bitcoin in your private keys and that just sits there and you should hope for the best, but you cannot do anything on the short term. If you allow this composability of DeFi, you can borrow against, you can do all sorts of things, and you can put that money to use in the real economy. And that is one of the goals for Celo, to enable people to fulfill their needs, and that's how everything comes into play. And you can do all sorts of things. If you are somewhat concerned about the environmental challenges that Bitcoin has, you can just grab Bitcoin, wrap it in some carbon offset tokens, and voila, you have some green Bitcoin, and it's living on-chain right now. It's called eBTC, and that's the things you can do.
Good stuff. We just had a Bitcoin upgrade with Taproot that adds a little bit of kind of privacy to the base layer. Yeah, thanks, clap. So kind of last question here, getting into kind of the privacy aspect of using DeFi versus CeFi. Different spectrums, sure. Max, can you talk a little bit about how you see kind of DeFi, how projects like the DeFi folks on the stage here should be viewing KYC, should be viewing customers versus how CeFi does?
Well, there is a fact that you don't have to pass a know your customer process when you are using DeFi. So far, we don't know what is going to happen with the regulation. Maybe in the future, every protocol has to have its know your customer process. But I hope that regulators understand what is DeFi, and I hope that regulators never go to know your customer in DeFi. But probably what we are going to see, no matter what, is a know your customer process in the web application that we use to use this DeFi project. So far today, you don't have to do know your customer using DeFi, and you have to pass a know your customer process using DeFi. But probably in the near term, you will have to do it anyway.
Yeah, but Mauricio and Oswaldo, either of y'all want to touch on that too?
Okay, so the whole thing, the only reason I got into this Bitcoin DeFi thing was because I wanted the customer not to depend on an intermediary. Cryptocurrency exchanges are not your intermediary, and they are regulated. So you want to develop a way for people to be independent from intermediaries. And that's what these guys are doing, and what the people that I'm working with are doing. I've been in banking for 40 years. I know how they work from the inside out. So what you're doing here in El Salvador and some other places is you're trying to develop a financial system on top of Bitcoin. And that's the only way to do it. But once you do that, that doesn't mean that you're going to be depending on intermediaries again. That's what these guys are developing. They're developing a way for you to trade in and out of whatever into Bitcoin.
Well said, well said. Thanks everyone for participating. This was great. Remember, Bitcoin is DeFi, but if you want to put your Bitcoin to work, these are some great people to talk to, great people to work with.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bueno, yes, we will have a discussion anyway about AML and KYC today, yes, with the guys from Gafi and other entities. So just stay here. And yes, you might stay here because you're now a new moderator. Bueno, do you want yourself to introduce your panel?
Yes, for sure. We are going to talk about a very interesting panel right now, Because we are in the crypto industry, most of us, and we understand very well benefits that have cryptocurrencies and decentralized technologies. But we want to understand with these incredible leaders how this technology can impact the state services or the government services and, for example, the merchants. So welcome them, please. It's okay. You can sit here. So we have Camila, Juliana, Justin, and Juan Pablo. And please, let's start knowing about you and your work very fast, please, so we can get very fast in our topics. So maybe we can start with you.
I'm Juliana Birkici. I work at Algorand, which is a blockchain protocol, pure proof of stake, funded by Turing Award winner and MIT professor Silvio Micali. I particularly work on Latin America and also some strategic projects that pique my interest.
Thank you very much. Camila?
Hi all, my name is Camila Rioja. My friends call me Mila. I do software and business development for C Labs that pushes forward the mission and works on Celo blockchain. Celo blockchain is a layer 1 protocol with full EVM compatibility. The mission for Celo is to make sure that prosperity is shared. And it's shared because it's the first blockchain made for mobile. We're going to discuss this in more depth in this panel. I would just like to thank you all for sharing this stage with me today.
For sure. Justin, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Justin Newton. I'm the founder and CEO of NetKey. At NetKey, we focus on identity and how identity relates to different crypto and blockchain projects. We're involved in a wide array of projects, whether they're financial inclusion projects run by governments, whether they're identity reclamation projects to try and get back stolen identities to their original owners, whether it's KYC and AML for exchanges, for partners like CeLo, and others that we work with across the crypto community.
Thank you, Justin. Juan Pablo?
Mauricio, hello. Hola, hola, hola. Hi, my name is Juan Pablo. I am from Argentina, one of the builders of Crypto Market, a marketplace where Bitcoiners can use their coins for anything, also other cryptocurrencies. Then a place where the persons who have something to sell or some services to offer, they can do it by exchange of Bitcoins. And then a third product that we are like working stronger nowadays, that is a payment processors on the stores. We are trying to bring Bitcoin to the normal persons, the ones who build the daily economy.
Perfect. Thank you, Juan Pablo. Let's take the perspective of the user, no matter it is a merchant, a regular person, or a state. What are the benefits that they are seeing from your products? And maybe if you can use some examples about it. Please, Juliana.
So Algorand is a blockchain protocol that was built to work at scale. It's enterprise grade, so because of that, we have several implementations that have been carried by government. Probably you know of a Vital Pass. So when they had to select a protocol that was easy to scale, secure, decentralized, and cheap and fast, they chose Algorand. Obviously, I mean, the benefits of having your vaccination proof on blockchain are obvious. My hope was that Europe would adopt it, but they couldn't agree. And so now you have a lot of people cheating and just fabricating their Vital Pass, their pass or Green Pass. Other uses, here in Salvador, we have signed with our partners an agreement with the registry to put on blockchain different titles.
What kind of titles?
So there are 5 areas. I hope I remember all of them. One is Cadrasto, which I don't know how you say it in
Catastro.
English. Catastro, see? And then like car ownerships, like car and other mobile goods ownership, IP property, and then titles.
Okay.
So that will be very interesting, and the benefits are obvious, right? It's about access and also cost reduction. So access for the final users who won't have to go and be, in line for hours to get titles, but also for government. In addition, there will be more opportunity to extend credits based on owning a car or a clean title. And so we think that also for the end users, that would be also an advantage. One other example is, I don't know if you have followed the issuance of 4 million NFTs in one day. That was from CI, which is an Italian PRO. So basically, they are tokenizing and putting on blockchain catalogs for artists so that it's easier to track and reward artists. And we're doing that. With them, it's mostly music, but we also created a decentralized platform where you can actually get your, you can calculate and distribute fees, and it's kind of like Spotify upside down, where if I create a playlist and you download it, you actually get compensated for it.
Okay, that's interesting. In the case of Cello, some examples of why the merchants or states are being benefits from your solutions.
Sure. What I personally love about Cello is the fact that it's like community-based. What Cello has done in terms of infrastructure, it's allowed for a full suite of goodies that you can basically build upon. You can build upon by yourself, by enrolling one of the grant programs by the foundation, or asking money for the community fund and so on and so forth, finding like easy information available and so on and so forth. So when we talk about merchants, I would like also to talk about the community, because they can be the ones to build these tools. On another side, it's important to say that it works in any mobile phone, and you can have your phone serving as a POS, no matter where you are. So different programs like disbursements, loans, DeFi, they have been allowed by the use of this technology and the way it was built. So we're very happy, I am very happy to be part of a community of over 100 and, I don't know, I think 40 countries now building on Cello in a very interesting hackathon called DeFi for the People. Other than that, there are use cases with international organizations and so on and so forth. But I think the key message is Cello is a playground for communities and institutions to build solutions that are available on the palm of your hands, which I think it's key for blockchain, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrencies in general.
So it's a very big network of knowledge, Silo. It's not only technology.
Knowledge and people. When you sit side by side with people who are like the tentacles and also like this extension of the solutions. And of course, you can find amazing things like optics breach and so many other innovations by the community or by Z Labs or by everybody that is around that just make this like ripples and networking effect.
Okay.
Work towards the people.
Okay. Justin, you're trying to do easy to use this technology, right? Can you explain more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, first of all, so like end users and merchants aren't our target. You know, our target, the people we work with, is frankly all the people that are in this room and listening on the stream who are building layer one networks and then the exchanges, applications, and services that run on top of them. You know, the thing that we do for the end users and merchants is we help those others get access to their services. We provide the onboarding platform for that so that they can safely and securely onboard users knowing that the person who's joining their network is actually the person who says that they are, that they're there to do the things that they say they're going to do, and that they're going to be a meaningful member of that community that's participating as an honest person. We do that in a way that's fast, easy, and secure. For an end user, it takes them less than 30 seconds. And in some cases, we can deliver results in 15 seconds or less. Wow. And in a way that aligns well with the privacy and security concerns around identity that people operating in the crypto space have.
No, that's very, very interesting. Juan Pablo, I know very well crypto market. You are in several countries in Latin America. Can you explain us what, in some cases, what you found in Argentina, Venezuela, and El Salvador?
We got plenty of examples, and taken by which kind of person we are talking. For example, if we are talking about a Bitcoiner user, then what crypto market brings to them is the facility or the equality. They can change this into anything, pay a bill, order a product on Mercado Libre, Amazon, I don't know, exchange it to another a stable coin or things like that. If we are talking about stores, what we give to them is the opportunity to open the market and to start to cross the bridge between fiat to crypto. And then if we talk about ecosystems, based in our idea about nodes and Kryptonians, what we bring is work for the Bitcoiners. Because, example, we got 8 offices in Argentina. Every one of those, they have their own project. There is a guy making a map. There is a guy trying to build a non-governmental thing about blockchain. In Uruguay, is one of the founders of Blockchain for Humanity. So what we bring is an ecosystem and a synergy work for the ecosystem, from the nodes and Kryptonians, building shops and things like that. And one example that involves all of them is take an idea of, for example, a foreigner from Venezuela working in Argentina, who he knows that the money that parents have is moving down all the time, is losing the price. Same thing is doing it with the peso in Argentina. So he can save the money in cryptos in a non-custodial way. And with that money, he can pay his rent in Argentina and same time send a rose to her mother in the Mother's Day. So it's a very simple thing what we do, but it gives the real value of Bitcoin, because really connect people. We live in a world that has changed everything. We don't have any kind of geographic lines for work. There is many people doing homework from one side of the world to the other. The only thing that have no change is the way that we consume. So we are working for that.
Great. Well, okay, let's talk about that is very local, that it's in the context that maybe it's difficult for some of your products, but I want to get in that. We're in El Salvador, and Bitcoin is a legal tender here. So what changes for your product that a state like El Salvador make Bitcoin as a legal tender? It changes something or not? Maybe we can start with Juan Pablo this time.
Well, absolutely, they have give us to the more for the cases like crypto market. We are always having to handle situations with banks and government, because we are like the bridge from one financial system to the other. So when we build a company with this kind of business model, the base is very soft. You cannot be working on serve, because you don't know what is going to be the next law who maybe pull all your work down or anything. So the idea that exists a place where we can really grow from a solid base, with a clean, that the rules are clear. We know what we can't, we know what we can do. This is fantastic for us. But now the thing is, every right you get, then it's an obligation you have. So now I think that the ecosystem have to give the Salvadoran the opportunities that the Salvador has given to the ecosystem. This is why.
Perfect. Justin, in your case, there's some change?
Yeah, I mean, I think for anybody that's working in crypto or digital assets or blockchain in any kind of way, what's happened here in El Salvador has changed their business. And the reason for that is this is the only place in the world where not just the majority of people have a crypto wallet, but basically 100% of the adult population has a crypto wallet. And so, there's a lot of things about the economy here that may be different than other places, or changes that may be different, but there's nowhere else in the world that a crypto company can go, or a company that wants to provide crypto or blockchain services can go, where they know that 100% of the population has a crypto wallet, knows how to use it, is familiar with it, has all their friends using it as a part of their everyday life. And that's going to mean there's an opportunity for all of those adjunct services that get built beyond the base of what Chivo does to start to grow and flourish, because they've got enough density for those projects and products to start to grow. And so, we don't directly build things on chain, right? We build enabling technologies for companies that are building in crypto. But, I expect that this is going to become not just an innovation center for Latin America, but a crypto innovation center for, frankly, the whole world for a while, because again, it's going to be the only place in the world that's maybe bigger than a few square blocks where that everybody has a crypto wallet. They know how to use the crypto wallet, and they'll know how to send and receive to other kinds of crypto services and start to use that as a way that they manage their finances. Eric talked about earlier that 70% of the country has never had a balance before, right? And so now that they've got a balance, that balance is actually in crypto. So the financial services that 70% of this country is most familiar with are crypto services. So if you're providing crypto services, or if you're a crypto company and you don't think that that's meaningful to you, I'd love to have a follow-up chat with you, because I bet I can change your mind.
That's very interesting. Please, Camila.
And perhaps trying to link the first and the second questions. For instance, there are different service providers and payment processors that are already offered their services through Celo infrastructure blockchain. The reason for that is because of the stable assets. Algorithmically backed stable assets, they're available as a digital dollar, a digital euro. The community has pushed forward for digital real, for digital peso. This is all in the forums, all open. So there is the Bitcoin law that says, okay, you can use Bitcoin and dollars to make payments. Perhaps that also means, I don't know, that you could use a wrapped Bitcoin, a green Bitcoin that travels on a Celo network, or for instance, like a Celo dollar. Then this could be like a use case with an infrastructure of payment processing that is already running on Celo. So different ideas, but also to allow the whole population to do it themselves if they need to send or sell something on their own phone. So I would figure this to be one hypothesis.
It's a game changer, I think, from your answers. And if you add to that, that maybe is the leader and the first one of many others in the future, will be amazing. In the case of Algorand?
For us, it's been great. It's been one of these, wow, we're so lucky moments for many reasons. I think partly we are involved in rebuilding the digital infrastructure of this country, but also to see what works, what doesn't, what we can do better. But also, and this is something that may be new to you, it also called the attention to the use of energy for Bitcoin and all that came from it. I mean, it was coincidental or very close. The launch was very close to, or actually the announcement happened in June, which was around the same time when China outlawed the miners. So it gave us an opportunity to remark that not all blockchain are created equal, and that, in fact, Algorand is a green blockchain. I would argue the greenest that I know. Our consumption is the equivalent of 10 families, which is nothing. And there are papers on this and all that, and I'll explain you why. And then, you know, we buy, the little we pollute, we buy carbon credits, and we also have in our ecosystem several companies that are helping with that. One is Planet Watch, and the other one is Climate Trade, that is putting on blockchain carbon certificates and helps trading carbon certificates. So that is one. And the other is also, if you follow closely what happened here, the implementation, it shows you how important it is to have a decentralized infrastructure, but also have real value for all users. Because although it's true that, now everybody is a digital wallet, because who would say no to $30? My question is, what is the use for it? So everybody used it? No. Who did it? Who didn't? So lots of data for us, which is always great. But also I think he showed that remittances are in fact one of the best use cases for blockchain. And we are working a lot with that in ways that are even more cost effective.
And maybe the main use case in El Salvador with 25% of GDP because of the remittances. But I want to...
For me personally, sorry if I say this, but when I met Silvio, and I didn't know anything about blockchain or anything, and he explained to me what it is, my first reaction, two reactions. One, I lived in Argentina when they had the worst hyperinflation on record, and I said, oh my God, this is great for Argentina.
It's worse in Venezuela, but it's a problem in Argentina, yeah.
But I did not live in Venezuela, so it is for a country with high inflation, obviously. But the other one was remittances. There is one of the people I love the most in the world is a woman from El Salvador. She helped me raise 3 kids, and it broke my heart when I saw her pay $10, $20 to Western Union to send $100. And you know that is the people that have the least money. It's a retroactive tax, they pay the most, and I'm very happy that we're changing that.
Yeah, as you can see, we're talking about real problems here. We are trying to solve real problems. But I want to ask you about the challenges of the adoption, because as Juan Pablo said, there is a lot of friction that it's been reduced with the law, because the people is exposed to Bitcoin directly. But what are the challenges that you see we have to solve in the adoption of Bitcoin, not only in El Salvador, but in the rest of Latin America? Maybe Justin.
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's a few things. I think some of them were touched on in some of the earlier conversations, like you need to get the trust of the community that you're attempting to empower and give new tools and new things to. When losing $30 might impact your family's ability to eat reliably over the next few weeks, you really need to trust a money system before you're going to trust your money in it. And so building that trust is going to be important. Creating a smooth and easy experience for people. And that is going to come throughout the process, right? So 70% of the population didn't have a bank account. That means that 70% of the population never went through any KYC process before, much less a digital KYC process using their phone, right? And even in countries where people are used to doing KYC, it can be hard to get them through that process successfully. And so you need to build tools that help to coach them through the process and make it feel familiar and intuitive to what they're doing. But then also, when I first started coming down to El Salvador in June, after the law was passed, so I'm relatively new here, one of the things that surprised me was the majority of people down here pay their Uber driver in cash. They don't have a credit card attached to their Uber account. At the end of the ride, you give them $2 or whatever it is. And actually, in many cases, they don't want to take your credit card for reasons I don't need to get into up here. But it's to move from every single transaction is cash to transactions or digital using my phone is another huge behavior change. And so there needs to be intuitive design and software. There needs to be education. There needs to be coaching all throughout that process. And then, there needs to be a supportive ecosystem that's put in place behind it. And I would say, one of the things the government did here that was incredibly valuable was say, we're going to have a wallet of last resort to make sure there's a backstop starting point that everyone can have, that provides the baseline that now everyone can work from, so that all the rest of the companies aren't bootstrapping from zero. They're bootstrapping from an environment that already has users. And users that are now getting past the very basic things of holding a Bitcoin balance and holding a USD balance and wanting to move on to services that everyone else can provide, like micro lending or yield or all those other services that aren't going to be part of the base layer. But without the base layer, all the rest of us are building on sand. And so by putting that base in place here, they created an environment for innovation and for the rest of the things to fertily grow. When we look at the rest of the region, getting that kind of base in place is going to be really valuable in creating those same kinds of opportunities for the country and the citizens.
Okay, interesting analysis. Juan Pablo, you want to add something? Camila, or
Yeah, I think
about the
that's very
challenges of the adoption?
Yeah, sure. Because this was a lecture, right?
Yes,
I was
yes,
just saying
yes.
yes, preach. But I would say that we can look at this, of course, in different angles. If we look from the institutional angle, like security is something very relevant, and this is why I like network. That's why I like community. Different partners within the community, as we say, offer different sides of the thing. For instance, like Prosegur yourselves. So this is all very much relevant. On the community side, I think it's very relevant, like on the educational portion, also allow people to build, to be nearby the community and say, hey, this is how you build. Come here, join this Discord, like let's exchange ideas. So I understand that with these two things in place, plus the speech, we are well positioned.
And in the government side, in the state side, what are your challenges that you see that you are working a lot with them from Algorand?
This is how I decided where to attack when I was given the task to do Latin by myself. I thought, okay, there are situations where having a new system is just another option. There are situations where it's a necessity. I'll go to the necessity because I know that the people will adopt. This is what's happening in Venezuela, where 8-year-old women know what Bitcoin is. I mean, that's pretty remarkable, right? So it's been, it is difficult. I think that, from a government standpoint, they always take forever to change. So I love the fact that El Salvador did this. Yeah, I would say with bigger companies, really with government is the bureaucracy involved and the different interests. But it's happening. Like we are working on a CBDC for a G20 country, and we have been engaging with other big country that are starting to wanted to use blockchain as a protocol.
I have my concerns with CBDC actually, but in the corruption side, you think blockchain can add some value in the government services?
Absolutely. That's why sometimes I don't know whether they want to use it or not. Being from Italy, I mean, I'm like, really? But, it depends to whom you sell and what kind of election cycle you have, I guess. So.
Okay. Juan Pablo, do you want to add something?
Yes. Well, I think that it's coming a new world where there was monarchies, later came the democracy. Me salve. But the democracies, came as a second option, a second chance to live, a way to live. And now it's happening it's like a certain way, different of these two ones, is coming. So I think that the things that we have to keep on mind is, first of all, don't lose the mind. To Bitcoin, for Bitcoin, need to be decentralized. So it's not about revolution, it's about evolution. The people is not gonna get it when we want it, it's gonna get it when they are ready for it. And what we have to translate, it have to be since it's in the beginning. I mean, for example, it need to be decentralized, it need to be real clear, how she say, and build this space that when the people come to this side, the side of the Bitcoin and the blockchain, they know already what are the rules. This in one side. And the other point is that I like so much the community. Actually, I create crypto market just to be part of this. And then later come the rest, and it was nice and I enjoyed. But I think that most of the time we are like we are using always the word ecosystem, and we are so happy each one creating things that or toys or tools that we know how it works and we know how it got, but not doesn't work for the rest of the people. When I work in the street with the customers, with the stores and the persons, I don't try that they only ask me and they know what is Bitcoin because I ask them what they will use Bitcoin for and how they could use it more easier. So I think that more that we need to go outside and find a way. Like, for example, computers in the beginning were only a tool to make a better profit for a certain person who have workers that with this way were systematized. When the home computer came, the world changed because there was a tool that the people can use to do what they want to do and become what they want to become. And then they came the graphic designers, the media, now all these things. So I think we need to start to create things that the people is demanding, not what we think that the people need. That's it.
Yeah, that's an important thing to add, and reminds me an amazing job that has been doing Bitcoin Beach in El Sonte here in Salvador with merchants. And I think that the most valuable that they are doing is not just the technology, is the trust that the community have on them. And Bitcoin is a tool to connect the economy in that small town. They have an amazing leaders. But with this, I want to thank you because you share with us an amazing thoughts and perspectives about how Bitcoin could be, or cryptocurrencies and blockchain could impact the merchants and the public sector. So please give them an applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Rodolfo.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.